Welcome to the Sound Mind Strategy Podcast with your host, Evan.
And Anina Blankenship.
This podcast is aimed to be an in-depth discussion between husband and wife power couple where we take on challenging topics in the mental health and wellness arena.
By trade and training, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified professional coactive coach, USA Cycling National Champion, and I love to push my limits both physically and mentally.
As for me, I am currently in a master's program for sport and performance psychology, where I'm also on track to become a certified mental performance consultant. I've also been coaching athletes for the last 5 years, helping them reach their truest potential.
We're both very passionate about athletic performance, mental skills training, spirituality, and we love to take a holistic approach to helping people find harmony in their mind, body, and spirit.
We believe that there's greatness inside of everyone. Our mission and the mission of this podcast is to help you unlock and operate within yours. Hello, everybody. Welcome back or welcome to the second episode of the Sound Mind Strategies podcast. This is your host, Evan, and we are having a little fun with these first few episodes where today I'm going to be interviewing my normal co-host and wife, Anina. So today's going to be a little bit where I go through and ask her a good amount of questions and so that way we can find out a little bit more about her, who she is, what she does, what she's all about. So strap yourselves in for a good episode, good conversation between Anina and I, where we just get down a little deeper and figure out who she is. So with that being said, how are you, Anina? You want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm Anina Blankenship, and I'm just excited to be doing this. This is, our second podcast, so it's been a pretty fun adventure so far, and kind of getting prepped for the coming podcast to come. And so, I'm definitely excited to be here and doing this and talking about today, what I do and what some of my passions are in life.
That's great. I'm really excited. This has just been fun. I know it is only episode 2, and we are just kind of figuring things out and learning a ton while we go. Mm-hmm. But it's just been so much fun, and I'm so excited to bring good content and hopefully a lot of value to our listeners about just different things that we feel very important about, that we feel are very passionate about, helping people and uncover different things and living their best life and finding out who they are. That's just kind of some of the guiding principles of what Sound Mind Strategies is all about. So I guess just to kick things off and just dive right in, you want to tell us a little bit about like some of the certifications and the training that you've done, a little bit about where you've got your training and how you've got to this point now?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a certified professional coactive coach, which involved a year-long process. And it was where, day one, it was like jumped right in there and started coaching, and it felt like you were floundering, trying to figure out how to do this whole coaching process. But I am so thankful for the Coactive Training Institute, where I did receive my education at, because it really helped sharpen my skills as a coach and helped me get into a spot that made me uncomfortable a lot. And I really grew from those times. Right. So it was a year-long process where I had to go to Chicago. It was 5 months in a row for 3 days total. And it was like from morning to evening. Like it was just
sun up to sundown, just
totally.
Total immersion.
It was total immersion. Yeah. Nice. My head was spinning most of the time afterwards, but I was like, this is good. This is good. This is what I wanted. And then after that, we would have calls that would take place once a week for about an hour and a half in length. And we would be with other pod mates talking about a specific topic, and then break out into groups where we'd actually do coaching with one another. Nice. So it'd be in a triad. So you'd have somebody who was coaching, someone who was listening, and somebody else who was actually being the client. And so also during this process, I had to have 5 paying clients as well. So that was a huge piece of it that really helped further and deepen my learning as a coach.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of like, they forget about like when they're going through these trainings, no matter what it is, whatever training you're going in, whatever career path you go into, like when they are kind of entrepreneurial in nature, the whole business aspect side of it, like, oh, I have to learn how to market myself. I have to learn how to charge, to bill, to do these things.
Yes.
Like that's a whole nother side that a lot of people, and I think a lot of curriculums kind of just drop and forget about, like the whole business aspect and do that. So did Coactive and CTI, did they kind of teach you that and have that part built into their curriculum?
Yeah, they did. It was really neat because within the training, they had different people who were there who had gone through the courses beforehand. So you could actually like talk to them about where they were at in their business now and what was like helpful for them and what was unhelpful. So that was really nice. And they also had some different like podcast trainings you could listen to as well that were really, really beneficial too.
That's great. It's really nice to see when they put so much thought behind on how they structure their curriculum. That way you guys are set up and the people that are going through their programs are set up for just absolute success. If it fails, it's because you didn't take the material and go market and go do something. So that's really cool. It's really great to see that. Beyond the Coactive and CTI training, tell us a little bit about your social work background, because that's kind of where it all really started, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is where it really started. So yeah, I had been practicing as a licensed clinical social worker, for a couple years, and was just finding that like I wanted something different. It's like I felt like I kept coming up against a lot of barriers when I was working with people. It's like we would kind of go over their past issues and what brought them to where they're at now, and just felt like this constant mulling over and over on the past. And I was feeling really stuck. I knew the clients I was working with were feeling really stuck too, and just didn't really know how to help them progress and start looking towards the future and figuring out what things they want next for their lives, because they were so wrapped up in the past that it was hard to have a lot of healing from that. And so I was just really looking for answers and trying to figure out what else is there out there. And when I think back now, it's like I'm so thankful how it all developed. And really what got me interested in life coaching was that I was performing on an elite level in cycling, and was just having some mental blocks as it pertained to riding my bike, and went through a lot of different things with that, and ended up that one of the coaches on the team was actually had been through CTI life coaching before.
If you don't mind me kind of just interrupting, and I kind of don't want to let you off the hook with that. Like you said something that I kind of feel like I want to touch on is you just kind of threw that out there. I was going through some mental blocks, like, and performing at an elite level. So I, if you don't mind, I really would like your permission to kind of go into that a little bit deeper. Because that's something that elite level athletes, pro or not, I mean, even if it's on the upper echelon of an amateur level, like, they don't like to talk about mental block or issues, like they want to present as
kind of having it all together.
Together. Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, obviously with your permission, like, do you mind kind of going into a little bit about what maybe some of those mental blocks that you touched on were?
Yeah, sure. So there was a lot of things. There was just a part of me that felt like I didn't really belong, and that I was kind of pretending and an imposter, that I wasn't good enough to be competing at that level. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't good enough. And so all that kind of wrapped up into really manifesting in me holding myself back in a lot of ways, and not trusting myself, and thinking that I just couldn't do certain things. Other people could, but for some reason, I couldn't. And so there was even things like, as far as like descending down hills, like that terrified me because in my mind, I thought that I just didn't know how to do it and I was surely going to die.
Wow.
And just,
death, really.
Yes,
Wow.
very, very much so. And the person to my left or right, it wouldn't happen to, but it would only happen to me.
Only you.
Yes. And I found out too, a lot of it was I just didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my skills or abilities and just thought I was then less than other people.
Is that something that you've put some real work behind into overcoming, mastering, easing anything?
I would say easing. I have not mastered it,
okay.
I would say, but I would say I'm in a way different spot than I was when I first started. And I really attribute that to my coach. Having a coach, a life coach, really helped push me and start to really just help me dig a little bit deeper about where those different thoughts, were coming from. And yeah, sometimes there was some things that came from my past that brought them there, but it was kind of okay, now that we know this information, just kind of empowering me that I get to choose where I want to go now.
Okay. Yeah. What were some of the principles that you guys worked on, or what were some of the skills that you guys worked on? Or maybe just you personally, but did she, this is all coactive in your personal training, right? So, what are some of those skills that she gave you or walked you through to, I guess, ease that or get you from point A to B, C to wherever you are now?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest pieces and biggest takeaways for me were that she didn't tell me what to do. It was more of Anina, I see you as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole and not broken. And you have the answers.
Powerful.
Yeah. And it was I see you as having the answers within you. And my job is just to help pull those out of you. And so that was really, I think, where the transformation began because, I had talked to different therapists before about things, and it was more of this was my experience. It's not with every therapist, but it was more of well, do this, do that, do this, do that. And it was all with great intention, but it was I was still winding up in the same spot. But when that coach really just started asking me, what did I want out of this? And what was my current perspective on it? And maybe what's another perspective on it? It really opened up a whole nother level of understanding for me. And it's sometimes hard to put words to, but it was.
What do you think the main, mental skill practice was that really helped get traction and actually move you forward?
I would say visualization really helped me a lot. Visualizing, myself, descending down the hills, descending down the mountains and doing it with ease.
Mm-hmm.
And trusting myself when I was coming around a bend or whatever, that I knew what to do. And, yeah, I definitely say the mental side of it, the mental visualization, and then also just realizing that I had a choice in this whole circumstance. My perspective on it is what really helped guide me too, because it's I could stay stuck in this perspective that feels really icky and feels like it's going nowhere, or what's the sunny day perspective, and it's just so crazy as
just a sunny day perspective instead of that doom and gloom, or actually, in your case, was worse than a doom and gloom. It was imminent danger or death. I mean,
totally
is
was
what you felt on you, right?
Yeah, I really did. And then also, as we're talking more now, I'm even thinking, I developed a mantra, which was, I am calm and confident. And you would not believe how visibly or very noticeably, my heart rate would start to lower. My shoulders would start to drop. I would just totally
Now, would you
relax.
see that? I know, when you train and everything, you have power data and heart rate data and all that. So it's not just going off a feel or RPE. I mean, you had physical biofeedback markers, heart rate numbers to actually look at, and you could actually watch your heart rate drop.
Yes, I really did.
As you said your mantra to yourself?
I really did, yes. Wow. And I still use that mantra today because it really does help me, even just in in all situations. I carried over from the bike into work situations too. So it's really served me well. Yes. I
think imagery and visualization doesn't get its it's due praise. I know it does in some circles, but I think just to the layperson who maybe doesn't have as much training or information knowledge about life coaching or sports psychology and different mindfulness practices, really kind of, it almost kind of seems like a hokey practice of just,
that's what I used to think
it's kind of
too.
just fun thing to think about. But I remember when I was in one of my earlier classes, and we were talking about in the sports psychology class, and when we were kind of learning on some imagery techniques, where a gymnast, she had broke a leg and she was out for a significant amount of time. But every day during practice, when she actually couldn't practice, she would watch video of a move and a routine that she had not been able to perform. And it wasn't the first or second routine. I forget exactly how fast, but it was remarkably fast at how fast that she just was able to nail that routine as soon as she came out of the boot and was able to get on the balance beam. And it was all because she watched that video and then visualized herself performing that routine in such, in a perfect fashion. I know Michael Phelps is a big user of imagery in his swim strokes, and watching him swim those times. That's a really cool technique.
It is. It's very powerful. And I too used to think it was very hokey and like, oh, sure, this just seems like a waste of time. And I'm a busybody, so it was hard for me to like sit down and actually do it. But it's like, whoa, it really does make a difference.
I just want to ask you real quick. Do you have a mindfulness practice that you've carried on that you continue to use?
Right now with my my current coach, I'm actually doing more of a mindfulness exercise where there's this, for me, what I've been visualizing is this yellow brick road. And I've been doing it about 10 minutes a day and then working on journaling afterwards. I'm still a work in progress on that. But visualizing this yellow brick road that came out of like this deep, heartfelt conversation we had. And I visualized myself, riding my bike on this yellow brick road, and along the road, there's a lot of just bumps and uneven pavement because of the brick. And my whole outlook on it is that I'm moving full force ahead. And, I visualize that I had these different thoughts left and right of me. And it's like, I'm unstoppable. I'm just full force ahead. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I get to choose, do I want this thought over here to the left or right? Yes or no? And then just keep kind of going. So it's like, for me, that visualization really means a lot to me right now. And it's just unguided. It's just what I'm doing on my own accord. And sometimes I've even brought up a picture of a yellow brick road on my computer to really help get me, in the zone of what I'm wanting to see for myself moving forward.
So the thoughts on the left and the right, they don't necessarily it's okay that they're there because you're just passing by, and you have the option to choose which one you want. So if a negative thought comes in, it's not that you're negative or you're bad in any way. It's just you kind of go through it without judgment, I guess. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I go through without judgment. And I just noticed hey, maybe I'm having this thought, but it doesn't mean I'm a failure and I'm doomed and now everything's ruined because I had this thought. It's kind of that whole, we've heard it where you catch it, check it, change it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's almost like everything's neutral in a sense of you're not being judged for it's whether you accept the thought or not, and decide to dwell on it, accept it, bring it in, or just let it pass on by. And so it's not like you have to align with that thought.
Exactly.
No matter if it's a positive or negative, it's your decision to say, yeah, I'm going to align with that, or no, I'm not, and I'm going to replace it with this thought that I want to align myself with.
Exactly. And just me kind of reverberating that to myself, I'm unstoppable. I'm just going to keep moving forward. It's like, hey, if that thought is really holding me back and not helping me be full force ahead, see you later. You have no place here right now. It's been helpful. I also use the Abide app on my phone as well.
that?
It's more of like a Christian app that goes over, like there'll maybe like a different Bible verse or something of that nature. Someone's kind of like telling, a Bible story, and they have different spots where you can pause and take time to reflect on it and really think about what that means to you.
This is like a meditation app?
Yes, it's like a meditation app. Yeah.
Do they, with that, do they also have like topics or guides that you could follow? Like if you wanted something for, I don't know, whatever
anxiety
people.
or for stress or
exactly.
sleep. Yes, it has a whole gamut of things.
That's
yes,
great.
so that's been nice too.
I do want to come back to the athletic side of things with you, but I think I want to ask you something that kind of goes back to the training and everything. I'm really curious on this. Like, if you went and spent all that time and money and effort, years really, getting trained as a social worker, and then going on all the hours and extra money that goes into getting licensed and being a licensed clinical social worker, and getting that there's a lot that goes into getting licensed, isn't it?
Oh, there is. Yeah, it was quite the journey. It was like a 2.5 year process to become
that's 2.5 years
social worker.
Okay.
Yes, and then 3,000 hours to become a licensed clinical
and that's
social
beyond
worker.
The master's degree.
Yes.
Right. So you get your master's in social work, and then you have 3,000 observation hours beyond that, right?
Yes.
Where you have to pay someone consistently to look over your work and through the licensure process, and then go and pay a huge state exam, right, to get licensed and approved through the state. So,
yes, exactly.
Okay, so you've done that, and you're working, and you're operating as a licensed clinical social worker, and you gave us the rundown of kind of where you were at mentally, and just kind of how things were going in the career, and then this experience that you had with the life coach. But what made it be to the point of where you were like, I'm going to go do that? So, I mean, you're so invested in this, and I mean, you're not old by any means, but and most people would be kind of like set on their way for a career. I think, you've spent all this time and all this money and effort and energy into getting licensed and, doing this path. And I think in the world of social work, working for someone, I think you probably landed one of the best social work positions.
Yeah, I feel like it is definitely working on that. At the VA has, been a huge blessing as one of those, kind of coveted positions to be able to reach that level. And so it's kind of like I did arrive, and it was just like, it felt like something was missing. It felt like there was more I could do, more I could learn. I had gone to different cognitive behavioral therapy trainings, had done a lot of different training and things, but none of them really hit me like coaching did. And I think it helped move me away from the find it, fix it mode that I feel like I was in a lot, and kind of like, well, maybe try this, maybe try that, maybe try this. And it's like, I was so used to operating in that I was severely getting burnt out, and I'm like, I've got to do something different. And so that's really what happened for me. And it's like, I see that the major difference between, being a therapist and a coach is that, a therapist helps you more gain insight into your past, whereas a life coach is more focusing on what you want for your future. It's like where you're at now and where you want to go. And as a life coach, my primary role is not to really listen to people's stories, them to retell their painful stories of the past. We know that is an important element that kind of leads them to where they're at now.
To interject, can I real quick? I just want to clarify something. I think I caught it right. So you're saying the main difference between counseling that you can do either with as a counselor or as a licensed clinical social worker, that career path versus life coaching, is it really down to where you're taking the person like present to future, past, present, future? Is that kind of the distinction? Yeah,
that is one of the huge distinctions between it. And as a coach, I don't diagnose or treat, and as a therapist and licensed clinical social worker, there's a difference there too between that diagnosing and treating.
Could you diagnose as a LCSW?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is, and Yeah, and it's more of like to helping people really like live their best possible lives, and it's like helping them envision like what they want for their lives, and then being like their accountability person all the way through it. And and it's not just having a good conversation with them; it's holding them accountable, and it's helping them to grow, and sometimes having to be very honest and remembering what some of their important values are and visions are that they had for themselves that maybe they've forgotten along the way, and bringing that back to their mind too.
Okay.
So it's,
I guess, just in a really quick nutshell, what would you say life coaching is all about? I mean, granted, I know there's probably tons of different philosophies because there's probably lots of different schools of thought on and education paths to become a life coach. But from your perspective, what do you see life coaching being all about? Not like in how it compares to something, but what do you see it as?
I really see it as being helping people reconnect with what really matters to them in their life, and finding that purpose and that passion in whatever avenue they decide to go in life. Helping them kind of just find meaning in the ups and downs of their life, and really being, like we all know, like a personal trainer helps people work their body when they're wanting to, get, more muscles or lean out. And this is really like a personal trainer for like your life and your goals that you want to achieve in your life. So it's,
that's a really cool way to look at it. I mean, do you think there's a stigmatism that kind of comes with like people seeking help from from a therapist, counselor, or a life coach? Do you think that people are like almost embarrassed?
I think sometimes. I mean, I think for me, like I know for me personally, when I first started, using a coach, I just felt kind of like, oh my gosh, I want people to know that there's something wrong with me, and that was
you saw it as something wrong with you.
I did,
but you also said the way you see from a coach perspective that people are creative and whole. So being naturally creative, healthy, and whole, like you mentioned, like there isn't anything wrong with him.
Exactly. And that's like, I finally came to that realization. Like at first I was very hush hush. I didn't want people to know, but now I see like that is not the truth at all. And that was just a lie, I was telling myself.
Right.
And that, nobody's ashamed when typically, when they get a personal trainer, it's like, yeah, a personal trainer, I want to get, some new muscles and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And they're all proud about it. And it's like, well,
yeah, people are completely okay with saying,
yeah,
I'm working with so-and-so as my strength coach, or
exactly,
or this is my endurance coach or cycling coach or running whatever they have it, whatever sport they play or whatever they're into. People are completely fine. But yeah, to say like I'm working with a mental coach, a mental strength coach, or a life coach, or a sports psychologist, I think, I don't know if there's like a pride issue to say, I just don't have it all figured out.
Yes.
I think like, because it's not down to being like, it's a performance advantage.
Exactly.
I think definitely in the athletic world and the performance world, and in these high-end competitive positions, or in military positions where sports psychologists are being implemented, life coaches
Right.
from across the whole gamut of whatever they're wanting to do. If they're entrepreneurs, if they're mothers and just trying to, need a little help in just like organizing their day and just being the best wife, mother, entrepreneur that they can be, however that applies, like it's a thing that they should be excited and proud about, I think.
Yeah, and I'm learning that too, and I think sometimes it's just kind of, unveiling a little bit about what the, kind of like what the story is that you're telling yourself about it, and once I kind of dug into that, it was transformational for me, and now I have no problem telling people that I work with a coach, because I really see the value in it and want other people to feel that it's okay and see that they can too be set free from what they've been letting kind of keep them small.
Yeah. I mean, you've got everyone, no matter where you are in life, you've got to where you've got based on the things that you know.
Exactly.
And you're not any further because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think to have someone in place in your life as that coach and that guidance and those bumper pads almost, like if it's just to build in that confidence, to help the competence, that people, it's that stuff to get the skill, to get the training, to step out and to trust themselves that they'll figure it out. They can do it, that they can do whatever it is they want to do. If they want to start that business, if they want to lose that 10, 15, 20 pounds, if they want to run a marathon, if they want to ride across the United States, if, whatever the goal is, whatever the thing is for them, I think it's just like they should seek expert advice when they're in the gym or doing their sport or activity or career path. Get the expert advice.
Exactly. So you can be your best self.
To be your best self. That's great.
Yeah. And I will say too, what another piece of like coaching, what I love too is that it's like, we all know we've had those people in our life that kind of tell us, you should do this, you should do that. And they have great opinions, great advice. But I found myself like not even like listening. I just would start to tune it out. But when someone asks me a question,
you mean when they just start spewing advice?
Exactly.
You should do this. You should do that.
Yes,
you should.
And it's total like
they're shoulding on you.
They're shoulding on you, right? But their intentions are pure, and I get that. And I know sometimes when you and I even have conversations, I'm like, okay, ask me a question because I want to dig in deep within myself to figure it out instead of you telling me, well, do this, do that, or the other. And so I think that's what I really truly appreciate about coaching too, is just like I said before, it's like basically getting you to tell yourself what to do. And when I am telling myself what to do, when I have told myself what to do, it's like I'm way more invested in the process because it's like I committed to doing this and it's not, well, so-and-so said I should do this and now I can bail because it obviously didn't work. It's like this higher level of commitment.
Yeah. I see that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this interview between you and I is a little out of the norm from most interviews, obviously, because we have, a very deep, rich connection and history together. And just to touch on what you just said, like I used to shit on you a lot when we first got into cycling.
Boy, did you ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I saw something you didn't see. I saw your potential. And like from a girl who, didn't want to even clip in, as soon as we put them on and you had, the absolute normal that everyone does it, fall over in their first ride in the clipless pedals, you're take these stupid things off. I don't ever want to see them again. Oh my gosh,
I remember that. Yeah.
And I just saw so much raw potential in you. And this is before I was coaching. I was still new. And, I think I thought I knew way more than I knew, but I still knew potential.
Yeah, you had the best intentions.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until you started working with the coaches that you mentioned before that when I backed off and just rallied around you, it became a cheerleader instead of a like, hey, try this. You think about this. You should do that. And then I used to get creative and like think about ways, well, how can I do this in a way to get her to ask me what she should do? And I was trying to get really, really creative about it, but it just wouldn't work, And I would just get so frustrated and we'd go around and around and around. And it's like, you are so good. You should see what I see. But it was really neat, like to see when I just like relinquish the reins and let you do your thing and let the professionals come in, and they didn't shit on you. They didn't tell you what to do, but they gave you the skills that way you could see what your potential was.
Exactly.
And it kind of led to some decent results, I think.
It did. Yeah. It definitely led to some great outcomes for me.
Yeah. I guess just to touch on that real quick, do you want to tell us like a little bit about kind of like your just last year's, that kind of like that big hoorah moment for you?
Yeah, my big hoorah moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So, I was training my tail off for this National Time Trial Championship. And I kept at it. I did the work mentally and physically, and, it totally paid off. And even mid-race, there were plenty of opportunities for me to bail. At the start of the race, I couldn't get clipped in right away, and so I was like, "Oh man, there's 4 seconds down." And then,
so this is a time trial. So this is like race against the clock. It's not mass start. It's just like
go as hard as you can.
Send riders out one by one and do your best, post your time, and see how we stack up.
Exactly. And that's totally what it was. And and I'd been training so hard for this, and maybe 5 minutes into the race, my Aero sock falls down to my ankle, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
So you had special socks to make you faster?
Yeah, special socks. They cover
incredible.
more skin, on your leg, and my little short legs, it almost went to my knees, but
nice.
But when it fell, right then and there, I had the choice, and I was very aware of it, where, I said, Anina, either you can say right now to yourself, the race is lost, look at all these time infractions that you just encountered, or you can say, nope, that fallen sock to your ankle is going to somehow make you faster. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. And that's what I chose to go in.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think just me having that quick check to myself of the race is going to be won or lost right now, depending on how you perceive what just happened to you, my perspective on it. And I think truly with coaching, had I not had that, just learning and training and experiencing perspective work, it would have been so easy for me to be like, the race is done. I'm done.
Just bag it. Just
totally.
Be done.
Yes,
Head
exactly.
back to the starting ramp. Call it a day.
Exactly. And so I mean, even when I think back to it, it gets me so excited that I had the choice right then and there to decide. And yeah.
So do you think, obviously you're physically strong. You won a national championship. But would you classify yourself as a mentally strong individual?
I'm definitely on my way there. I have not arrived to where I want to be yet, and I will say that very assuredly. But I am mentally stronger today than I was. I mean, I'll even say as of Monday of this week.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you're seeing growth daily.
I am. I really am, and I'm noticing that I no longer look at my life as a fail or a success. I look at okay, what happened today, that maybe didn't go the way I wanted it to, that I can learn from. And so when I look at it as I'm learning or I'm winning, it's a totally different way to look at, the whole failures, word that sometimes feels icky.
I think failure gets I mean, that's one of those words, I just almost just hate, I just despise it. It's just such a bad word. It should be a 4-letter. It is a 4-letter word. Fail. It should be classified as one of those don't use words.
But then again, it's your perspective on it, right? So if you look at it as I'm winning, or I'm learning.
I guess let me clarify. In the context that most people understand failure, and the way I used to understand failure, because really it's just an opportunity to learn
growth.
something new, right? Yeah,
yes.
It's well, this didn't work, so let me tweak it, try something else, and just a tick mark to, I already know where I'm going. I'm going to continue to succeed. So this is it's just another data point of
exactly.
Okay, well that didn't work. I'm, now actually one step closer to actually achieving my goal.
Yeah, so true. It's a great way to look at it. It's just a data point.
Yeah, I mean, that's so powerful when you actually can look at it like that, and just it's not a setback, it's actually a step forward, because the more times I can fail, air quotes, fail, the actual closer I am. Because if I look at it, what if I play a game with myself of if I fail 100 times, then I'm that much closer to getting it because one, I'm continuing moving forward and continuing trying, continuing learning, continuing growth.
Right.
And
it's not always easy, right? I mean,
yeah,
some days it's going to be.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It sounds easy like when in conversation.
It does, but I struggle still
difficult,
some too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess just to keep moving this forward, what are some things that life coaching is not? You know, you've done a really good job of like giving us some descriptions on what life coaching is, how you look at your clients, where you take them in along the timeline from present to future instead of like digging up old past things. So what are some things that you would say that just life coaching is not this? It might be like a stereotype. It might be something that like, misunderstood about life coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the core of like life coaching, it's not simply a good conversation. It's not a conversation that you're just having between, two friends. It's a conversation that really helps you start to move forward and to start to see, growth in your life and really have you start envisioning, like I kind of said before earlier, is like what you want in your life as you move down, this path, this journey, that you are on. And yeah, it's, I'm trying to think how else to like sum it up, of what it is not.
I guess just let me rephrase it a little bit. What are some of the major misconceptions about life coaching that you've heard?
I've just heard some people say that, that it's not, I don't know, like it's not that helpful to only focus, on the future, that you need to know the past so you can move ahead.
Is that more of a clinician's standpoint on it?
Right. Yeah. I've heard that before. And kind of like I, mentioned earlier, it's like we understand the past does play a role and maybe you can talk about it, but we're not going to let you stay stuck there. Like that is my role, is to not help you stay stuck there and to help you start, exploring different perspectives, different alternatives,
right.
To what you're envisioning for yourself.
Nice. Excellent. I guess just to stay mindful of the time and everything, I got a few more things I'd like to ask you, and I guess we'll just kind of move forward with that. So do you have a philosophy that kind of guides your life, guides kind of where you're spearheading business and your focus on sound mind and your coaching?
Yeah. So, I do find myself in a very unique position right now as I'm still like developing and figuring out like what that looks like for me. But the one true thing that does come forward for me that I, cannot deny is that I really do know that my mission here is to help people really untangle, their everyday chaos and find more meaning and purpose in the ups and downs that they are going through in life. And so that's really, for me right now, where my mission statement stands.
Nice. I like that. That's really good. It's powerful. It's understanding that people do go through challenges and people have a framework that they work around mentally but you still see yourself as facilitating change in that, to help them live their best life, and that you are the facilitator of change. I mean, that you help
kind of guide them along this process.
Yeah. I mean, it's their work to do, but you're just there to help guide them along the way.
Exactly. Yes, that's totally what it is. And, in any coaching relationship, the client, even myself can get off track, and, the coach's job is to help hold that agenda for what that person says that they want to work on, and keep bringing the person, back to that, because we know when we keep telling our same stories over and over again, it's like you could keep talking and I could put the phone down right now and you'd still be rehearsing that same story you've told yourself over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Like, I'm very familiar with that in conversations. You almost get the script, like
Exactly.
it's scripted. This is what I say. And it's funny, like I know Tony Robbins will use pretty strong language.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a philosophy behind that. Like he will do that to disrupt their rhythm,
right?
To break him out of that. Like, what'd you say to me? And like just that little jolt of catching him off guard, like gets him to a new level of openness and honesty.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. Is that something that you think you would implement in your practice?
Using the curse words?
Well,
no, I mean, I do see the value in that and see like the utility in that. But
do you have a method to kind of bring about the same kind of thing that he's getting after?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a little, I guess, a little less. Trying to think how to say this. It's just not as like abrupt. It may be more of a interruption. Like I'm gonna interrupt you for a minute and bring you back to this because this is kind of what you said your agenda was to like focus on today. And so just kind of interrupting that thought pattern. So I may use the word like I'm gonna interrupt you,
right,
or interject here right now for the sake of
and you
what you want.
You don't quite have the same deep voice and obviously and the same large stature that he has.
I guess there's some things I could work on.
Yeah, you're quite the opposite in that. That's funny. Anina, little Anina and big Tony Robbins.
Right, yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years then? So Sound Mind Strategies, the life coaching, everything is kicking off. It's new. It's kind of rolling out. You got the podcast going. And right now you're still working full time. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you see your life? Go ahead.
Okay. So where I really see it is that, I imagine, just being, I really just like, I know I'm like, Anina, this is going to sound so silly, but it's truly what I see. It's like being on a larger platform, speaking to the masses of people. I have found that I really do like group coaching, and that I really do like teaching people different things, different concepts. And so I really see it growing in the next 5 years to where I'm doing more speaking engagements, and you and I are doing more speaking engagements, and just really helping people start to uncover just what is beneath all the murkiness, all the lies, all the different masks they've been wearing for so long, and just really help them get down to making those changes in their lives. And because and just real quick, it's like I do see that. I know that we all on this earth have different giftings and talents that we were blessed with, that only we uniquely can carry out. And so I'm just very passionate about helping people find that and then really fill that out in their lives, because I know how fulfilling it has been for me, and I want that for them too. And so I see that really growing, more on a platform of just doing speaking engagements wherever it may be. That part I haven't figured out yet. And then just continuing to have coaching clients, individual coaching clients as well. Because I really do like that one-on-one time too. So, and I don't know how many. It's hard for me to imagine like how many clients right now. I mean, I know by the end of this year, the plan is to have 10 clients. And so that's where I see by the end of this year. I guess in 5 years, maybe I can just like quadruple that perhaps, or whatever is after that.
Yeah, excellent. Do you see yourself writing anything? You said teaching. Would you see yourself like maybe writing a book or some sort of, I don't know, even short series of teaching manuals or modules or anything?
That's been on my heart to do. It's been on my heart to write a book, probably back in, I don't even know, like 2008, whatever it was. I just had this vision of writing this book about like my life story and where I've been and where I've come from. So I really do. I do see that in the future as well.
No plans right now.
No plans right now.
Just keep that on the back burner
exactly.
for a
Keep
while.
it on the back burner. I do already have some thoughts written down and some things that I would like to cover, when I do write my book. But yeah, so that's kind of put on hold for right now, but I do see it coming.
I think you got enough on your plate right now. Just
get
everything up and running. I think that'd be cool. So currently, what are you reading and listening to?
So right now I am reading with a couple other girls. You Are a Badass, and it's been good. It's been a really good, insightful book. It's really opened up a lot of like doors for me as far as, my thinking patterns, my habits. And it's just, really helping me take a deeper dive into evaluating myself and what I want in my life. So it's been a really, really good book. I even love the front cover, how it's like, you are a badass, how to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life, by Jen Sincero. So I think the title says it all, and just really embodying that part that we all do have that side to us.
I think we do.
BA side, as we call it, right?
I agree. I think that is something that all of us have, and obviously for some over others, it's much easier or harder to tap into that. Some people just live and operate in that, and some people are just so unaware that that's even there, that's even a possibility. That's pretty cool. So what are you listening to?
I listen to a whole slew of things. All the way from podcasts from our church. And then also the Life Coach School is one of the podcasts I listen to. There's also another one that it's called Unf Your Brain. And it's been pretty good too. It is good. She cracks me up. So there's some good content on there too. But yeah, so those are like the major ones that I kind of like flip back and forth through. For the most part right now.
Good. Really cool. You mentioned a couple things. I just want to ask you real quick before we close up. Is there like a spiritual framework that you kind of operate in? That kind of guides your life? Do you follow a spiritual framework? Yeah.
I mean, I am a Christian, and I believe, in the Lord, and, without him, I honestly know I would not be here today and where I'm at today. And so that is a huge guiding principle, in my life. And I take him everywhere I go with me. It's a huge part of my life. And so yeah, I mean, everything is built on this, sound mind strategies off of 2 Timothy 1:7. Oh. For God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And, that is a verse that is very deep down into my heart, has been buried very deep down in there, because it's really helped me get through a lot of tough times. And that was even like one of my mantras, throughout life, besides the calm and confident. It's been that verse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you kind of utilize some of that with the coaches that you were working with, kind of when you were talking about some of the other athletic things earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, it has been.
Excellent. That's really cool. I guess I want to be, kind of aware of the time. We're kind of still working on how long we're going to run these. I think we're kind of closing in on an hour and still need to wrap up a little bit. But is there, I guess, just closing, is there kind of anything that you feel that you just kind of want to share or need to talk about? Give you the last word.
I get the last word. Woohoo. Just in thinking about wherever you may be at, in your life, anything that you're going through, whether it feels small or feel big or insignificant, it's, I think it's just really powerful to have a coach who, comes alongside you and really helps you see the value in who you are and the potential, that you have within yourself to really grow and develop into that person that you want to be. And, just even for our listeners out there, I love connecting with other people, so if there's ever any questions you have or, anything that comes up for you that you just, want to know more about or want a sample session, I'm definitely available to do that and would welcome the opportunity to do that.
That's a great place, and just kind of segue into where can people find you if they do want to reach out? Are you on social? Is there a website that?
Yeah, exactly. So soundmindstrategies.com is the website where you can schedule, one-on-one, sessions there. And then also, on Instagram and on Facebook under Sound Mind Strategies.
Nice. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I had an absolute blast having this conversation. Even
Likewise.
though I know you very well, it's still fun to hear your perspective on things and just kind of what's going on, and even just to share some things that maybe I didn't even know, or that kind of you just kind of had within yourself, and even just or to share again some of those. So it's really fun, and I'm sure the listeners got a really good sense of who you are, the framework that you operate from, the vision that you have going forward with Sound Mind Strategies, and the coaching that you do and offer, who you are and how you've implemented it and how it helped you progress and move through in
like all areas of
all
life.
areas. Yeah. I mean, I hate to just like truncate into like just in athletics or just in this, like, I mean, it just life coaching. I mean, it's
very so
every application of life that you walk through. It's the whole pie, it's everything. It gives you those skills that you can just take into every area of life and just be a better fill in the blank,
exactly.
Everything.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And I think
thank you. That was great.
Moving forward, I think we'll check out the next episode. We're just going to do a flip-flop on this where Anina's going to hammer me with a bunch of questions.
Yeah,
and
get ready.
I'm going to be in the hot seat. So I look forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I'm going to, hopefully she's kind enough to let me know what she's going to ask beforehand so I can give you guys some good answers.
We'll see.
But I think little Cooper is crying and wanting to go on his evening stroll, so we're going to do that. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did recording it and asking Anina some good tough questions and figuring out a little bit more about her and what makes her tick and how she got where she is. This is a new podcast, so it would really help us out a bunch if you could, wherever it is that you're listening to, if you could like it, subscribe, leave a review. That would help us out immensely. Thanks again for tuning in. And like I said, like we touched on, finishing up episode 3 is going to be a 180 of this one. So Anina will take over and be asking all the questions and be figuring out a little bit more about who I am and my training and stuff like that. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.